Machiavelli didn't write for the comfortable. He wrote for people thrown into the arena, where power is contested, loyalty is conditional, and results matter more than intentions. These rules distill his toughest lessons into modern, usable ideas. They are strategic, not sentimental, pragmatic, not pretty. Use them to see the board clearly, move first, and protect what you build, always within the law and your own ethical line. Remember, the point is not to become cruel, but to become clear-eyed. Mercy without strength is ignored. Strength with discipline changes everything. Your first task is to build a persona that buys you time, trust, and access. Think of it as a uniform: consistent look, consistent tone, consistent promises, so consistent that people can predict you. Predictability feels like safety, and safety creates compliance. Start with a 3-part mask: visual, how you present; verbal, how you explain; behavioral, what you always do under pressure. Visual, adopt a simple, repeatable style. When people can sketch you, they can remember you. When they remember you, they call you first. Verbal, keep a small set of phrases that telegraph your values and priorities. We move fast, but never at the expense of quality. I reward preparation. We show our work. Behavioral, define 2 or 3 signature habits. Arrive 5 minutes early, send recap notes the same day, decide in the room, not because they're flashy, but because they make everyone else's life easier. That usefulness is a silent halo. Run an impression audit once a month. Ask 3 people privately, what am I known for? What do people worry about with me? What's one story they tell that includes my name? Adjust the mask accordingly. Build a reputation balance sheet. Assets, competence, calm, reliability, discretion, and liabilities: impatience, opacity, tunnel vision. Reduce liabilities by designing guardrails. If impatience is a risk, never enter a meeting without a written agenda and time box. If opacity is a risk, automatically share a 1-page summary after decisions. You're not fixing personality, you're engineering predictability. Guard your private strategy. The mask is not deception, it's discipline. Never lie about facts. Instead, time your disclosures, choose your emphasis, and speak to shared goals. Keep sensitive moves compartmentalized. Who needs to know, when, and why? Use buffers, processes, committees, advisors, so controversial steps are institutional, not personal. Document decisions in neutral language. Given X data and Y constraint, we chose Z. Documentation protects you when memories turn political. On day 1 in a new arena, execute the first 30 seconds rule. Define the room's purpose, your principle, and the next step. We're here to decide the launch date. My principle is no surprises for customers. We'll leave with a date, a risk list, and owners. That sentence announces competence and sets context. Then do something small but valuable immediately. Synthesize the mess on a whiteboard, name the trade-off no one will touch, or volunteer to draft the first version. Early usefulness cements the mask faster than any speech. Create consistency across channels. Your calendar, inbox, public posts, and hallway conversations should all echo the same 3 priorities. Contradiction punctures the mask. Keep a message triangle taped to your monitor. Top point equals mission in 1 sentence. Left point equals 2 measurable priorities. Right point equals your standard of conduct. Before any meeting or memo, look at the triangle and align your language. The goal is that people can do a decent imitation of you when you're not in the room, and they'll defend that version of you because it simplifies their world. When you need to pivot without seeming fickle, use continuity framing. The goal hasn't changed, only the path. Tie the change to new information, not new moods. Offer a reason that flatters your audience's intelligence. The data from last week's cohort makes the old plan riskier. Here's the version that preserves quality while keeping our timeline. This is how the mask protects the man. It gives you room to adapt while preserving trust. Practice 3 microscripts. Praise. Here's what you did that made my job easier. Keep doing that. Correction. Our standard is X. We did Y. The gap is Z. Let's close it by doing A this week. Deflection. That's outside our current focus. Park it for Friday's review. These scripts prevent you from improvising in ways that damage the image you've invested in. Over time, you'll notice a shift. Fewer objections, faster yeses, and doors opening before you knock. That's the compounding interest of a well-built mask. Affection is a bonus. Respect is a baseline. You earn it by pairing fairness with firmness, clear standards, consistent enforcement, and visible skin in the game. Start by publishing your non-negotiables. 3 is plenty. Example: 1. We tell the truth about status. 2. We prepare before we meet. 3. We keep commitments or renegotiate early. Post them, repeat them, enforce them calmly. When someone violates a standard, correct the behavior, not the identity. We said status is honest. The risks were softened. That makes planning impossible. Today, say it straight. Tomorrow, send the real risks in writing. No emotion, no theatrics, just gravity. Respect grows when your yes and no are both meaningful. Learn to say no with the framework: priority, principle, path. Priority: our fourth quarter deliverable comes first. Principle: accepting this would jeopardize quality. Path: if we move feature B to January, we can take this in December. People accept a hard no if they get a clear why and an alternative path. Then follow through. If you cave often, your words become coupons, not currency. Be visibly fair, publicly credit, privately correct. Tie rewards to criteria you announced before the contest began. Publish the rubric for raises, opportunities, and recognition. If a favorite underperforms, apply the same standard anyway. Nothing evaporates respect faster than the scent of favoritism. When you must terminate an arrangement, do it cleanly, quickly, and with a factual explanation. We agreed on X by Y. It's now Z. I'm ending this today with these terms. I'll answer questions about the handover, not the decision. Decisiveness is compassion for everyone else who depends on clarity. Offer predictability under pressure. In a crisis, speak in time-bound updates. At 15, we'll freeze changes. At 45, we'll choose between path A and B. At 55, we'll announce. When people see you create order, they adjust to your cadence and stop testing boundaries just to feel safe. Respect often shows up as quiet compliance, fewer side conversations, fewer escalations, fewer just-checking pings. Adopt the steel outside, velvet inside stance. Steel, your outer boundary, standards, timelines, and consequences, doesn't bend under social pressure. Velvet, you listen fully, ask clarifying questions, and reflect feelings without promising outcomes. I see why you're frustrated. It's a lot. Here's what we can do within the standard. Compassion without collapse is rare. People respect it because it's trustworthy. Run a 30-day respect reset if things feel sloppy. Week 1. Publish standards and remove 2 low ROI commitments to free space for quality. Week 2. Institute meeting hygiene, agendas, pre-reads, and decisions captured. Week 3. Give direct feedback to 3 high-impact people: 1 praise, 1 correction, 1 stretch assignment. Week 4. Ship something hard on time, even if it's smaller than planned. Shipping restores credibility. Credibility is the soil respect grows in. You need 2 modes: reconnaissance and deterrence. The fox maps the terrain, patterns, incentives, hidden traps, without announcing itself. The lion changes the terrain, deadlines, consequences, irreversibility, so others adapt to you. Most people live stuck in one mode. Train your switch. Use a decision tree. If uncertainty is high and stakes are reversible, go fox. Gather asymmetric information. Who wins if this fails? What does the quiet person know? Who benefits from delay? Then test with small probes, emails that ask for specifics, trial balloons that surface hidden resistance, dry runs that reveal weak joints. Fox tactics. Offer 2 acceptable options to see which hidden preference reveals itself. Ask for numbers, not adjectives. Request examples of done to catch ambiguity. Document everything. The fox wins by seeing the game before others admit it exists. When uncertainty is low or time is short, go lion. State a clear aim, a short deadline, and what happens after the deadline. Remove escape hatches. Lion tactics. Set a decision meeting instead of another discuss. Shorten the menu to A versus. B. Pre-wire the room by aligning 2 key voices beforehand and use visible commitments. Sign here. Publish this. Ship the draft. The lion changes momentum by making the cost of standing still visible. Negotiate with the dual posture. Begin Fox. Ask calibrated questions. What would make this a no-brainer for you? Map constraints. Find where value is cheapest for you and most expensive for them. Offer packages that trade your cheap value for their costly demands. When stalling appears, switch Lion. We're aligned on scope and price. I'm sending the agreement at 3 p.m. If we can't sign by Friday, we'll proceed with vendor B. You're not threatening, you're clarifying reality and timeline. The switch itself communicates strength. Practically, rehearse Fox drills and Lion drills. Fox drills. Analyze 3 historical decisions. What trap did we miss? Who knew it and didn't speak? How will we make it speak next time? Anonymous forms, pre-reads, one-on-ones. Walk a process backward from failure to spot early warning signals. Lion drills. Time box meetings to 25 minutes. End with a single owner next step. Reduce a plan to a 1-page brief and approve it in the room. Close a small deal in a day to remind everyone that speed is possible. Signal without posturing. Fox signal. Here's the data you haven't seen yet. Lion signal. Here's the line we will not cross. Keep your signals calm, short, and testable. Threats invite ego contests. Clarity invites compliance. And remember the ethic. Cunning is for insight, not deceit. Force is for order, not cruelty. When people experience you as the person who sees clearly and acts cleanly, they'll pick your side even when they don't like your answer because reality will vindicate you. If you don't frame the story, someone else will, and they won't be kind. Begin by naming the conflict in plain words. People rally to names. We're not fighting competitors. We're fighting confusion. This isn't a budget issue. It's a priority issue. A good name collapses complexity into a handle. Once you've named it, define stakes that matter to your audience's identity. If we don't fix confusion, we burn trust. If we fix it, we become the team everyone borrows from. Identity beats spreadsheets. Build a message stack in 3 lengths and keep it stable for at least 1 cycle. Headline, less than or equal to 15 words. The crisp, repeatable point you want, echoed. Summary, approximately 50 words. The why now plus the win if we do. Narrative, approximately 150 words. The villain, the problem, the plan, the proof, and the next step. Use the same verbs across all lengths. People sniff inconsistency. Repeated verbs glue memory. Choose a scoreboard. Numbers, discipline narratives. Pick 2 or 3 that make progress visible. Response time under 2 hours. Defect rate under 1%. 5 signed partners. Publish weekly. When the scoreboard moves, call it out and explain why. When it stalls, admit it first. Say what you learned and adjust. Owning the dip keeps you in control of the story arc. In a crisis, use the 666 rule. In the first 6 minutes, acknowledge the reality. State what you know. Say when you'll know more. In the next 60 minutes, gather facts, align stakeholders, draft the message triangle, what we say, what we don't say, what we'll answer if asked. In the next 6 hours, publish your narrative with an action people can take. Pause updates, use this form, expect an email at 1800. Silence is gasoline, cadence is water. Preempt rumor with structured transparency, share process, not gossip. Here's how we'll decide. Here's who's involved. Here's the timeline. Here's how to give input. When people see an avenue to be heard, they don't need conspiracy theories to feel powerful. Use artifacts, FAQs, decision briefs, post-mortems to anchor the conversation to documents, not whispers. Every artifact should end with what we're doing next, so the story is always in motion. Reframe setbacks as investments with receipts. We delayed launch 2 weeks to pass 100% of security tests. That buys us credibility with enterprise buyers, which funds the next features. Show the trade, what you paid, what you bought, what it earns in the future. Audiences forgive cost when they can see value. Avoid empty spin. Pair every bright sentence with a hard number or concrete action. Own your origin myth and your direction myth. Origin, why you started, the constraint you embraced, the promise you made to yourself. Direction, the horizon you're walking toward. The enemy you're shrinking, the kind of place you're building. Repeat both until people can tell the story without you. The more they retell it, the less you have to fight day-to-day battles. Shared narrative becomes a force multiplier. Finally, gatekeep your language. Ban vagueness. Replace "we hope" with "we will" or "we won't." Replace "soon" with a date. Replace "try" with "ship a prototype by Wednesday." Words are little laws. Once you pass them, you must obey them. That obedience builds the most powerful narrative of all. They say it, then they do it. When that's your brand, rivals can shout, but the room will already be listening to you. Treat small problems like embers. Stamp them now or prepare for a wildfire. Build a threat radar with 3 layers. First, leading indicators, response time slipping, defects nudging up, missed micro deadlines, tone changes in stakeholder emails, circling back becomes still waiting. Second, anomaly alerts, anything that breaks your norm, unplanned overtime, quiet key players, sudden urgent threads without a clear owner. Third, narrative drift, when people begin rewriting what was decided or why it was decided. Create tripwires that force action at the annoying stage, not the expensive stage. If a KPI deviates 5% week over week, you hold a 15-minute correction huddle. If the same risk appears twice, you assign a permanent owner. If a deliverable misses 2 micro milestones, you re-scope immediately. Make early action public enough to set precedent, private enough to preserve dignity, praise the correction loudly, discuss the cause quietly. Adopt a 3-tier response. Nudge, notice, nuke. Nudge, small, fast interventions. Rewrite a confusing checklist, pair a veteran with a struggling contributor for 1 cycle, shorten the approval chain. Notice, log the issue in a visible risk register. Assign an owner, set a deadline, publish a 1-paragraph plan. Problem, cause hypothesis, next action, check date. Nuke, decisive, one-time measures that reset the system. Reassign ownership, cancel a failing initiative, replace a vendor, freeze changes for 48 hours while you stabilize. Use nukes rarely and cleanly. Their power is their rarity. Run pre-mortems on anything with real stakes. Assume we failed in 6 weeks. What probably went wrong? Name 5 likely failure modes, then add a tripwire for each. If churn hits 4.5% for 2 consecutive weeks, we pause all outbound and fix onboarding. Pair this with micro post-mortems, a 10-minute template after any miss. What did we expect? What happened? What will we change before next Tuesday? Keep it boring and consistent. Boredom is a feature. Predictable hygiene prevents dramatic disasters. Teach your team the 1-day rule. Anything that feels off earns a next step within 24 hours. A clarifying email, a rewritten spec, a quick face-to-face to unjam a block. Small threats metastasize when they live rent-free in inboxes. Also teach the 2 email rule. After 2 back and forths without convergence, switch to live conversation. Precision is faster than politeness. Be explicit about escalation as a service, not a punishment. Loop me in early so I can remove obstacles before they become politics. Give people a way to raise flags safely, an anonymous form for "something's breaking and I don't know how to say it," and a weekly risk round where the only agenda is what might blindside us. Reward the messenger, never shoot them. Finally, keep receipts. Decisions die in the fog of memory. Maintain a simple decision book. Date, issue, options considered, chosen path, owner, review date. When a small problem reappears, you can see whether the fix failed or the follow-through did. The habit of early documented action builds your reputation for calm control, which is exactly what deters bigger threats from testing you in the first place. You carry the vision. Let the machinery carry the mess. Keeping your hands clean is not about dodging responsibility. It's about designing responsibility so that fairness and order, not personal whims, do the heavy lifting. Start by separating roles. Architects set standards, operators apply standards, auditors test standards. You can be all 3 in a tiny org, but never at the same time on the same decision. Use the 2 keys rule for sensitive moves: comp, terminations, vendor selection. Your key plus an independent key turns the lock. This shifts controversial acts from your choice to our process. Codify your criteria before you meet the candidate. Evaluate the vendor or review the performance. Publish the rubric, the weights, and the threshold. Example: 40% delivery reliability, 30% quality, 20% cost, 10% partnership behavior. Score in writing. When the outcome inevitably disappoints someone, you point to the math and the rubric everyone saw, not to rumors about who you like. This isn't hiding, it's translating judgment into rules that protect everyone, including you. Delegate unpleasant but necessary steps to buffers with authority, not scapegoats without it. HR issues flow through policy and compliance. Procurement enforces vendor rules. Legal sends the breach notice. A standing standards committee administers sanctions. You decide the destination. The train schedule is printed by the station. Keep your fingerprints on the principle. We honor commitments. Repeated misses trigger a reset. And off the paperwork. Per clause 7.2 service. Credits apply and SOW2 is paused. Document in neutral language. Neutral won't go viral, that's the point. Design decision hygiene. Before, gather facts through forms, not gossip. Identical questionnaires prevent biased phishing. During, record options and dissent. Require a devil's advocate note for choices with real downside. After, publish a one-page decision brief to the affected group with the rationale, the review date, and how to appeal. Appeals matter. You keep legitimacy by offering a structured path to revisit outcomes when new facts appear. Protect your channels. Move consequential decisions out of chat rooms and into tracked systems. Tickets, docs, signed memos. Chat is for coordination, archives are for accountability. When the heat rises, hold your tone steady. We're following the standard. If the standard is wrong, we'll change it next cycle. Right now, we're applying it. Repeat it like a metronome. Consistency is anesthesia for outrage. Never lie and never leak. The mask from earlier gives you privacy. Process gives you cleanliness. Truth gives you durability. If you can't share something, say so plainly. If you made a call that hurt someone, own the principle publicly and see them privately. Keeping your hands clean isn't cowardice. It's a way to ensure that necessary force is delivered by an institution that will also constrain you when you're tempted to overreach. That mutual constraint is what earns you the right to lead again tomorrow. Give like an investor, not a gambler. The point of generosity is to strengthen the fabric that keeps you effective. Loyalty, competence, and momentum. Start by defining your reward thesis, reward early, to signal the behavior you want multiplied. Reward publicly, to make the norm visible. Reward specifically, to teach the room what earns elevation. Avoid vague, great job confetti. Say, you identified the risk, you brought a fix, you shipped it. Here's a stretch scope and a stipend. Specific praise creates a marketplace for the right actions. Attach every gift to a path. Money, tie it to milestones, vesting bonuses, completion bounties, profit shares with clawback on non-delivery. Access, tie it to stewardship. You'll manage the partner account. Monthly review with me for the first quarter. Opportunity, tie it to preparation costs. I'll intro you to the investor after you finish the 2-page memo with the metrics and the ask. The string isn't a trick. It's a structure that keeps the gift from turning into entitlement. Build a catalogue of repeatable generosity so rewards feel fair, not political. Quarterly spot bonuses with a published rubric. Impact tokens managers can award and convert to cash or time off. A rotating spotlight, present at the all-hands. Education credits with a deliverable. Teach the team what you learned in a 15-minute clinic. Internal grants for experiments that hit a defined learning goal. Predictable generosity compounds trust. Surprise generosity spices it. Use both. Invest in people who convert help into heat. Your best ROI often comes from the overlooked, hungry talent without permission but with output. Offer them ladders, a measurable trial, a sponsorship to get in the room, a named challenge that lets them prove themselves. Track returns. Did the bonus pull the deadline forward? Did the conference budget upgrade our practice? Did the warm intro close a deal? Keep a simple generosity ledger so you can re-up what works and sunset what flatters. Never fund independence that secedes from your mission. If a vendor, influencer, or internal star leverages your generosity to build a rival center of gravity, change the deal or end it. Signs of dangerous independence. withholding information, treating access as a right, recruiting your people into side projects, turning public credit into private leverage. Respond calmly and fast. Convert open-ended gifts into contracts with deliverables and review gates, shift praise to teams over individuals, reroute opportunities through shared platforms. Write generosity scripts. Offer, "You earned this because of X. I'm asking Y by Z. When you deliver, we'll open door W. Correction, I gave X for outcome Y. We're at Z. Let's close the gap by A. If we can't, we'll pause future support and try again next quarter." Exit. This gift created less value than we expected. I'm ending it here. No hard feelings. And here's what would make me restart it. Clarity keeps kindness from turning toxic. Remember the deeper asset. Repeated, fair generosity creates a reputation for being the place where effort turns into elevation. That brand attracts ambitious allies without you poaching or pleading. Your gifts become a gravitational field, and gravity, unlike charisma, doesn't take weekends off. People fail, structures persist. If you want power that outlives mood and personality, build systems that work with average Tuesdays, not only heroic Mondays. Convert craft into institutions through 4 R's: rules, routines, records, and roles. Rules, explicit standards for quality, security, escalation, and ethics. Routines, recurring cadences that metabolize those rules. Weekly reviews, stand-ups with decisions, quarterly pre-mortems, incident drills. Records, a searchable memory, decision logs, runbooks, wikis, dashboards. Roles, clear decision rights, who proposes, who decides, who implements, who vetoes. When the 4 R's are visible, people stop guessing and start performing. Start with decision rights. Publish a lightweight RACI for your core processes. Product, PM proposes scope. Eng lead decides technical approach. Design co-signs usability standards. Ops vetoes launch if SLOs aren't met. Sales, AE proposes terms. Finance sets floor pricing. Legal vetoes non-standard indemnity. VP signs at thresholds. When everyone knows who holds the pen and who holds the red stamp, politics deflates and speed increases. Raise your bus factor. Cross-train critical functions. Require at least 2 people to be able to run any essential process. Rotate duty officer roles weekly so operational knowledge spreads. Enforce no hero policies in incidents. Follow the runbook first, invent second. Celebrate the person who improves the checklist, not only the person who pulled an all-nighter. If you can't take a 2-week vacation without your area collapsing, you don't have power, you have a hostage situation. Institutionalize culture as behavior, not posters. Convert values into checklists and gates. We are customer-obsessed becomes usability tests required before launch, NPS targets tied to bonuses, a monthly customer court where real tickets are reviewed by leadership with cameras on. We tell the truth becomes red/yellow/green status reports with evidence links, a rule that risk lists are read before metrics, a ritual where the most junior person speaks first in postmortems. Culture you can observe is culture you can enforce. Build platforms that make the right thing easy. Centralize approvals through a portal with SLAS. Auto-generate contract templates with only 3 negotiable fields. Require pre-reads 24 hours before any decision meeting. Gate deployments behind automated tests and a change window. The platform is the quiet tyrant. No scolding, just rails. When new people plug in, they level up by following the lanes, not by memorizing your quirks. Design for succession on day 1. Every senior role should have a deputy identified, a 90-day handover plan, a living playbook, and a list of landmines and levers. Twice a year, run a tabletop exercise where someone else runs the show for a week. You'll find where the institution is thin and where the star performer is hoarding. Fix both. The test of institutional strength is how boring the week feels when a leader is out. Limit faction power with structure, not vibes. Use term limits for powerful committees. Rotate privileges, e.g. who owns the biggest accounts, and publish eligibility criteria. Encourage diverse coalitions by designing goals that require cross-functional wins. Reward bridge builders and make one-team performance visible in promotions. When no single block can dominate without you as the hinge, You become the necessary equilibrium, not the precarious referee. Create a 90-day institutionalization sprint when things feel personality-driven. Days 1 to 15, map your core processes and write minimal runbooks. Days 16 to 30, implement decision logs and a shared wiki. Turn oral tradition into text. Days 31 to 60, stand up dashboards for the 3 numbers that matter. Define thresholds and who acts at each. Days 61 to 90, cross-train, run an incident drill, and ship 1 improvement born from the new system. Announce changes with dates, owners, and review cycles. Institutions gain legitimacy when they ship. Finally, protect the institution from yourself. Commit in writing to how your decisions can be challenged. Invite periodic external audits. Separate your personal channels from official records. The day will come when your favorite shortcut tempts you. Let the rails you built save you from your own brilliance. That's how your work keeps working when you're not in the room. And that's the only kind of power worth building. Pick a side early when the outcome touches your future. Middle ground posturing feels safe, but it bleeds leverage. Your aim is to be decisive without being reckless. Use a 4-part filter before you commit. Alignment. Does this side's win push your mission forward? Probability. Are the fundamentals, resources, timing, talent on their side? Cost of losing. If they fail, what's your downside? And influence. Can you materially change the odds? If the alignment is high and your influence is real, step in visibly. Your support should be unmistakable. Offer a resource the other side can't. Distribution, expertise, introductions, a key approval, and time box it. Announce your stance with a sentence that frames the field. This choice accelerates quality and reduces chaos. I'm backing it with headcount and a weekly decision gate. Then act decisively in public ways. Put your name on the decision memo, host the first working session, publish the first milestone. Hesitation breeds opportunists. Clarity recruits allies. Staying out is not neutrality, it's permission for others to decide your fate. If you must abstain, do it with an explicit boundary. I won't arbitrate creative direction, I will enforce budget and timeline. Define what you will and won't do, and make the enforcement domain unmistakably yours. If both sides court you, negotiate like a banker of last resort. Extract common concessions that protect the system, shared definitions of done, a unified rollout plan, metrics, escalation routes. You're not the referee, you're the lender. Your capital follows discipline. If you pick wrong, pivot without melodrama. Use continuity framing. The mission is unchanged, the evidence is not. We're switching to the plan that preserves stability. Offer face-saving exits for the side you're leaving. Credit their work, absorb what's useful, and assign them a clear next mandate so they don't become a permanent opposition. Publish a 1-page Why We Switched addendum with data, timestamps, and a 30-day review so the narrative can settle. People forgive outcomes that change, they punish leaders who dodge. Operationalize commitment. Create a coalition contract. Objective, roles, veto power, decision rhythm, conflict resolution, escalation path, and a sunset clause. Set a visible scoreboard that both sides accept in advance. The moment metrics drift, call the meeting and force the choice. Fix, shrink, or stop. The middle is where entropy lives. Your job is to keep the system binary enough that physics, yes or no, does the disciplining for you. Use scripts that shut the door on triangulation. To the side you back, you have my name, my resource, and my deadline. Miss the standard, and we switch to plan B without drama. To the side you don't. I'm not with you on this path. I am with you on the follow-on objective. Bring me X by Y and I will fund Z. Both here boundaries, neither here's wobble. That's how you stay respected, even by those you oppose. Treat commitments as instruments, not anchors. Promise only what you can control, and make every promise legible in 3 dimensions: scope, quality, and time. Before you say yes, run the pre-commit checklist. Do we own greater than or equal to 80% of the dependencies? Do we have a single accountable owner? Do we have a rollback plan? Is the done definition testable? Can we absorb a 20% shock? If any answer is no, tighten the system or explicitly mark the promise as conditional. There are only 3 acceptable promise types: directional, we're moving toward X, no date; conditional, we'll deliver X by Y if Z holds; And hard, we deliver X by Y regardless. Here's the contingency. Label them in writing. Labels prevent future gaslighting of others and of yourself. Once promised, over-communicate cadence. Publish a delivery charter, the owner, the milestones, the weekly metric, the risk list, the change policy. Run 2 clocks, an internal date earlier than the public date, and daily micro-commitments that make slippage impossible to hide. Stand-ups should answer just 3 questions. What moved the metric yesterday? What will move it today? What threatens the promise? Anything else goes into a parking lot. Simplicity makes drift visible. Visibility is half of delivery. When reality changes, renegotiate early and numerically. Use the triangle trade. To add feature A, we either move deadline B or reduce quality threshold C for module D. Offer 2 options. Ask your counterpart to pick one in writing. The minute you sense a miss, send a recalibration note with a timestamp and a proposal. At 1420, we discovered latency at 180 milliseconds versus 120 milliseconds target due to vendor throttle. Options: 1. Hold date, reduce target to 150 milliseconds for V1. 2. Hold 120 milliseconds, slip 7 business days. Choose by 10 o'clock tomorrow. You're not asking permission to slip, you're imposing a choice that preserves trust. Build a reliability brand by publishing receipts. Keep a promise ledger with 4 columns: promise, type, directional, conditional, hard, outcome, met, renegotiated, missed, and delta, days plus or minus. Review monthly and show it to stakeholders. Find the pattern. Do you miss scope, timeline, or quality? Fix that lever in process, not personality. Pre-reads for quality, gate reviews for scope, buffer policies for time. Nothing makes future promises cheaper than a track record of met commitments plus transparent renegotiations. Use delivery scripts, saying yes, we can hit X by Y with Z constraints. I'll publish the plan by 1700 hours and send weekly deltas every Friday. Saying no, I can hit X by Y or X plus 2 by Y plus 3. Which matters more, scope or date? Renegotiating, our assumption A broke. Evidence link. To preserve the promise's value, choose between B and C by noon. If neither works, we'll ship a smaller win Wednesday and rescope the rest. Closing, we said X by Y. We delivered at Y minus 1 with metric M. Next we harden N and start O, lessons attached. Ritualized language converts chaos into rhythm, rhythm ships. Force has a place, but it must be rare, clean, and framed as maintenance, not malice. The goal is to re-establish norms with one decisive act, then return to fairness and calm. Begin with a sanctions ladder you publish in advance. Gentle correction, formal warning with written plan, removal of privilege, removal from role. Most people self-correct when the ladder is visible. Reserve the hard step for willful, repeated violations or threats to safety, culture, or mission. When that threshold is crossed, move swiftly and document obsessively. Speed communicates inevitability. Documentation communicates legitimacy. Design the action like a surgeon, not a brawler. Before you cut, check 4 boxes. Cause, precise rule broken with evidence. Proportionality, punishment fits the pattern and the harm. Communication, who needs to know what and when. And closure, what normal looks like after. If you can't state the cause in 1 sentence, you're not ready. If the consequence will require repeated public reinforcement, you've chosen the wrong tool. The power of a decisive act is that it ends repetition. Decide what is private and what must be public. Private protects dignity. Public protects the norm. Use a public statement when the rule itself is public or when the harm touched many. Keep it clinical. On date, role, not name, violated rule. We applied consequence per policy. Here's what changes. Process fix. Never moralize. Never gloat. In private, be human. Offer the person a path to exit with respect, or, if appropriate, a path to redemption with clear conditions and a review date. Cruelty for its own sake is theatre. Calibrated firmness is governance. Time box the entire arc. Act within 72 hours of certainty. Communicate within 24 hours of acting. Hold a short Q&A once, then end the conversation. Extended ambiguity invites faction building. Pair the act with a systemic fix so you don't just punish a symptom. If a senior leader violated meeting hygiene, sanction them and institutionalize agendas and pre-reads for everyone. The symbol and the system together teach the lesson. Beware of soft cruelty, endless hints, sarcastic asides, private undermining. It corrodes faster than a clean decision. If you aren't ready to act, don't threaten. If you are, don't delay. Every day between the decision and the announcement is a day your authority drains into rumor. Use scripts. First conversation. Here's the standard. Here's the evidence. Here's the impact. The consequence is X, effective now. Appeals follow path. I'll answer questions about the handover, not the decision. Team message. We enforced the standard we wrote. If you're ever unsure about the standard, ask. If you see a breach, raise it. We'll address behavior, not run gossip after action to self. What failed in selection, training, or incentives that made this likely? Fix that. This is how a single hard moment buys a long calm. No single block should be able to rule without you as the hinge. That doesn't require manipulation, it requires design. Start by mapping the landscape as a graph, not a list. Who talks to whom? Where do budgets, information, and approvals flow? Which nodes are overconnected, potential power centers, and which are isolated, potential spoilers? Redraw the map so that critical paths cross through shared platforms you control, processes, tools, cadences, rather than personal loyalties. Power that runs through rails is easier to govern than power that runs through whispers. Engineer incentives that prevent monoliths. Tie major wins to cross-functional goals with shared credit. A revenue target that requires sales plus product plus ops. A launch gate that requires design plus security sign-off. Publish a rotation of privileges. Who owns marquee accounts? Who chairs decision councils? Who presents at all hands? So opportunity is a tide, not a fiefdom. Term limits on powerful committees. Eligibility criteria publicly posted, audits scheduled. It's hard to build a permanent faction when the chair rotates every quarter and the rubric is visible. Keep information plural and verifiable. Centralize the facts in dashboards and wikis. Decentralize the commentary. Require that status colors link to evidence tickets, metrics, docs. Create an official questions channel where anyone can ask and get a dated, referenceable answer. Rumor feeds on scarcity. Documentation starves it. Avoid private court favorites by pushing decisions into forums with recorded rationale. The more the institution remembers, the less any single person can rewrite history to recruit a block. Use coalition budgeting. Allocate a portion of resources to projects only fundable by cross-faction sponsorship. Example: 30% of innovation budget goes to proposals signed by at least 3 functions. This forces bridge building and makes you the natural convener. People will come to you not just for permission, but for partners. Being the marketplace is stronger than being the monarch. When factions emerge, and they will, shape them rather than crush them. Encourage benign competition on transparent scoreboards. Quality, speed, customer satisfaction, not on opaque prestige. Reward, assist metrics. Credit for enabling another team's win. Spotlight, bridge leaders who deliver multi-team outcomes. When a block gets too cohesive, rotate a leader out, split the domain on functional lines, or merge overlapping mandates. Do it with policy, not personality. Effective Q3, platform and product advocacy are separate tracks with distinct KPIs. Calm structure dissolves sticky tribes. Maintain back channels without becoming a gossip hub. Schedule regular one-on-ones with leaders of every faction to hear grievances before they become alliances. Promise truth, not favoritism. I'll fix the rule if it's bad. I won't bend it in secret. When 2 groups come to you with incompatible demands, convene them in public with an agenda, a timer, and a decision rule. Forcing daylight is how you prevent us versus them stories from metastasizing. In crises, form a war cabinet that cuts across camps. Define its temporary scope, decision rights, and end date. Invite one respected operator from each block and make outcomes visible daily. When the storm passes, dissolve it on schedule. Ad hoc unity is a pressure valve. Permanent councils ossify into shadow governments. Ethical guardrail. Never manufacture animosity to rule. You do not need enemies. You need interdependence. Your legitimacy comes from designing a system where no one can hoard power and everyone can win by playing together. If someone accuses you of divide and rule, point to the rules: rotations, shared metrics, published decisions, open appeals. When fairness is verifiable, even critics need you, the hinge that keeps the door on its frame. Turn yourself into the passage everyone must walk through, not by hoarding power, but by organizing it. Start by choosing the scarce resource you can ethically control: information, approvals, introductions, capital, or coordination. Then standardize access with 3 artifacts: an eligibility page, who qualifies and why, an intake form, what to submit and by when, and a service level clock, how long responses take. Scarcity breeds suspicion, published rules breed legitimacy. Replace ad hoc favors with a visible queue and a weekly gate review, where decisions are documented in 1 sentence. Request, criteria applied, outcome, next step. You're not just a person anymore, you're an institution. Decide your gate posture. There are 4 modes: open, curated, embargoed, and closed, with clear signals for each. Open, anyone can submit, you triage for fit. Curated, you seek specific profiles and say so publicly. Embargoed, you pause new requests while you clear backlog, publish a date when doors reopen. Closed, you're not the right gate, point to the one that is. Switching postures without announcing it is how gatekeepers become villains. Announce posture changes with a timestamp and a reason. Create fast lanes that reward preparation. A request with the complete packet, evidence, owner, timeline, risks, gets an answer in 48 hours. A vague wish gets routed to office hours. Fast lanes teach your standards without scolding. Pair this with sponsor of record. Every approved request has a named sponsor, you or a deputy, and a handoff checklist. Sponsorship moves the value chain through you in a way that compounds loyalty without bottlenecking throughput. Protect against single point of failure syndrome, build redundancy, deputies with limited signing authority, templated decisions for low-risk requests, and automation for renewals. Operate a shadow week quarterly where your deputy runs the gate while you observe. Track 3 metrics: volume, how much asks of you, velocity, time to decision, and value, impact of approvals. If velocity drops or value skews to the loudest voices, your gate is captured. Counter by rotating reviewers, anonymizing submissions where possible, and auditing outcomes by criteria, not by who asked. Make your calendar a gate too. Publish fixed windows for pitch meetings, Q&A, and decisions. Keep everything else closed for deep work. The message is subtle but strong. Access is earned through the process, not through proximity. Use scripts that keep doors aligned with rules. Yes script, approved because it met A, B, C, sponsor is D, next step E by Friday. Waitlist script, we're full until the 15th of November, your packet is missing X, fix it and resubmit for fast lane review. No script, declined because criteria A wasn't met and risk B is high. If C changes, reapply with D scripts turn emotion into flow. Store the crown jewels where you control the keys, a canonical dashboard for real numbers, a shared wiki for process, a partner map for who's in your orbit. When people need truth, they must pass through your systems. That isn't domination, it's service at scale. And if someone accuses you of gatekeeping as ego, point to the playbook. Public criteria, predictable clocks, appeal paths, published outcomes. Power that is verifiable is power that can be trusted. Prepare in peacetime with the intensity you wish you had in crisis. Start with a threat model. People, key departures, malfeasance, process, single approvers, manual steps, platform, outages, data loss, perception, PR storms, regulatory changes, and partners, vendor failure, supply chain choke points. For each, define your RTO, recovery time objective, and RPO, acceptable data loss, in plain language. If you can't say how fast you need to get back and how much pain you can eat, your plan is a wish. Run quarterly tabletop exercises. Lightweight war games. Scenario: your primary vendor dies at 9:15 on a Tuesday. Who calls whom? What do we turn off? What message goes out at minute 6, 60, and hour 6? Give every role a card with their first 3 moves. After the drill, fix the friction you found. Missing phone numbers, unowned decisions, brittle scripts. Boredom is the metric. You want drills so routine that people yawn. Yawns save you when reality doesn't. Build buffers everywhere, time buffers, internal deadlines earlier than public ones, freeze windows before launches to stop last-minute chaos. People buffers, cross-train roles, maintain a bench of contractors who can spin up in 24 hours. Resource buffers, a cash cushion sized to your burn, a spare environment for failover, written playbooks for the top 10 incidents of the last year, knowledge buffers, runbooks, checklists, decision logs. The point of buffers isn't luxury, it's velocity under stress. Institutionalize the calm kit. A pre-written crisis FAQ, a status page template, a permissioned channel where only authorized voices speak, a media script that says what you know, what you don't, and when the next update hits. Keep a go bag with chargers, dongles, hard copies of key contacts, and a printed incident flow. Power and internet die when you most need them. Practice invoking the kit. Muscle memory beats adrenaline. Invest in people's nervous systems. Train leaders in decision-making under uncertainty. Define the reversible versus irreversible choice. State your 80% confidence threshold, choose, and review. Stress inoculation matters. Run short, hard sprints that simulate pressure. Teach breathing, posture, and phrasing that communicates control. We will freeze new changes until 1400 hours. At 1430, we choose A or B. You'll hear from me at 1500 hours. Cadence calms. Finally, schedule maintenance like launches. Quiet weeks are for patching, reconciling discrepancies between docs and reality, retiring zombie projects, and making one structural improvement that will pay off in the next storm. You're not preparing because you're paranoid. You're preparing because preparedness is cheaper than panic. Peace rewards the complacent, but war rewards the prepared. So train for peace as if war were tomorrow. Guard your name as if it were infrastructure, because it is. Reputation is stored trust, and stored trust lowers the transaction cost of everything you do. Build it with 3 C's. Competence, consistency, you show, composure, you glow under pressure. Competence, publish receipts, case studies, shipped work, documented decisions that aged well. Consistency, set a cadence, weekly updates, monthly demos, quarterly post-mortems. Composure, when chaos hits, speak first, speak plainly, and keep promises. People don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be predictable. Create a reputation ledger. 4 columns, commitments made, commitments met, corrections issued, acts of stewardship, times you took a hit for the system. Review quarterly. If you notice you're avoiding hard work to keep the ledger spotless, your fortress is becoming a prison. The antidote is a reputation budget, a fixed amount of risk you will spend on bold, reversible moves each quarter. Publish the bets and the kill criteria. When one fails, spend from the budget, not from your identity. Engineer fire breaks, separate personal brand from institutional voice. Keep your statements logged, route high-heat topics through a review process. Maintain a grace library of phrases that acknowledge without inflaming. You're right on X, here's what we're doing about Y. When you must apologize, do it with the clean 4. Name the harm, own the cause, state the fix, set the check-back date. Never apologize for optics, apologize for outcomes. Don't hide in the keep. Fortresses protect, but they also narrow your line of sight. To avoid stagnation, run reversible pilots. 2-week sandbox with 100 users. Use tiered rollouts, internal arrow-friendly, arrow-broad, and require evidence to exit the fortress. 2 metrics and 1 customer quote. Make it safer to try than to calcify. The brand you want is steadily daring, the leader who experiments without gambling the kingdom. Monitor 3 reputation threats: overpromising, your words run ahead of your throughput; gatekeeping rot, process becomes pettiness; and performative calm, you're so collected you seem cold. Counter with undercommit/overdeliver, periodic criteria audits, and humanized communication. Here's what worried me. Here's what I asked the team. Here's what we changed. Your name isn't a logo, it's a ledger of behavior. Keep adding deposits, even small ones, and the fortress will stand. Just don't live there. Hunt for the hungry. The discontented, ethical, restless, underutilized are rocket fuel. They watch the clock because the clock watches them. Find them where output outgrows title. The support rep who rewrote macros. The junior dev who quietly fixed the flaky test suite. The freelancer who ships in hours. Offer them ladders, not lectures. Ladder equals a scoped, time-boxed stretch with authority and a scoreboard. If they ship, they keep the ladder and get a taller one. Run a campaign of opportunity. Quarterly, announce 3 hard, high-leverage problems with public criteria and a bounty, money, access, ownership. Invite anyone to self-select with a 1-page plan. You'll surface strivers who crave an open door more than a soft chair. Pair each with a sponsor and a 30-60-90 plan. The first 30 days prove reliability. Show up, send receipts. The next 30 expand responsibility, own a metric. The last 30 unlock autonomy, ship something non-obvious. Filter out toxic malcontents who want chaos, not change. Screening questions. Do they blame without proposing? Do they hoard credit? Do they leave wreckage in handoffs? Discontent that builds is gold. Discontent that burns is gasoline. Give the former a mandate. Give the latter a boundary or a door. Keep an eye on the satisfied. Satisfaction can mean mastery, or it can mean stall. Watch for entitlement tells. Deadlines slip without apology. Feedback is negotiated, not absorbed. Energy flows to status tasks over value tasks. Intervene with a renewal pact, a new challenge with a clear why, a learning budget tied to teaching others, and a visible deliverable with a date. If they decline the ladder twice, redesign their scope smaller or rotate them out. Fairness includes consequences. Build a loyalty flywheel. Catch overlooked talent. Give laddered chances. Celebrate with specifics. Share upside. Cash, credit, career. Make them sponsors of the next wave. Loyalty isn't pizza, it's a path. The people who climbed your ladders will defend them and the culture that built them. That defense is worth more than any single resume line. Use recruitment scripts that respect agency. Invite, I see you doing X that matters. I have Y problem with Z stakes. If you own it and ship A by B, I'll unlock access to C next. Reset, I offered X for Y. We're at Z. To stay on the ladder, hit A in 10 days. If not, we'll pause and revisit next quarter. Exit that preserves dignity. This wasn't the right ladder now. Here's what would make me reopen it. Clarity is compassion for the ambitious. Information decides before authority arrives. Build an intelligence function even if you're small. Start with PIRS, priority, intelligence requirements. The few questions whose answers change action. Which partner is bleeding customers? Which regulation will hit our roadmap? Which competitor is raising? Publish the PIRS so your whole network knows what to watch for. Collect through many channels: HUMINT, frontline staff, customers, vendors, ex-employees, SIGINT, logs, telemetry, response times, churn cohorts, OSINT, filings, job posts, press releases, pricing pages, app change logs, conference agendas, counterintelligence, patterns of misdirection from rivals, internal wishful reporting. Create a truth channel where inconvenient facts are rewarded, not punished. If it hurts to say, we pay to hear it. Process, then analyze. Raw input goes into a triage doc tagged by PIR. Weekly, turn signals into assessments: likelihood, low, med, high, impact, 1 to 5, and recommended move. Keep the brief 1 page with BLUF bottom line up front. Color narratives with numbers and named sources. Latency P95 rose from 120 milliseconds to 175 milliseconds in 10 days, logs link. 2 enterprise prospects cited performance, CRM notes. Recommend freeze features, allocate 2 squads to performance for 10 days. Leaders can act when the brief is that crisp. Institutionalize red teams and pre-mortems. Assign a rotating opposition whose job is to find where your plan breaks. Pay a truth bounty for disconfirming evidence that saves money or reputation. Train people in Bayesian thinking, state priors, update with evidence, Avoid 0%/100% certainty. Write surprises we should have expected after every incident. The point is to make learning cheaper than losing. Protect information hygiene. Ban important decisions based on screenshots or hearsay. Require source links. Timestamp and archive competitor intel so you can see patterns rather than rumors. Identify a few honest brokers whose job is to carry bad news quickly. When people see that truth moves resources, not blame, you'll get signal before you get smoke. Share back. Intelligence hoarded is leverage wasted. Disseminate insights to the edge with action tags. Ops, do X by Friday. Sales, say Y in discovery. Eng, run Z-test. Report what changed because of the intel. Feedback completes the loop and keeps the network feeding you facts. Intelligence wins before the battle because it selects battles you can win. Luck isn't random to the prepared. Design your life so that when a door swings open, you're already standing in the doorway. Start with an optionality stack. Dry powder, time, cash, goodwill. Shelf assets, ready-to-ship proposals, pitch decks, case studies, pre-cleared paperwork, NDAs, MSAs, vendor packs, warm relationships, quarterly check-ins with people you'd sprint with, and a strike plan binder for your most likely windfalls. Acquire a team, sign a whale, launch on a sudden trend. If you can't move in 72 hours, you'll watch someone else collect what you spotted. Write trigger tables. If X happens, then within Y hours we do Z. Example: if a competitor stumbles publicly, within 8 hours we ship a calm reassurance to their segment. Within 24, we run targeted outreach with a migration guide. Within 72, we hold a webinar on switching safely. If a top candidate becomes free, you have a one-page role, comp band, and a 30 to 60 to 90 plan ready. If a regulatory window opens, your prepared comment letter and coalition partners are on speed dial. Boldness without prep is noise. Prep without boldness is waste. You want both. Practice decisive motion. Teach your team the 60-second yes for moves within pre-agreed guardrails. If the decision is reversible and the downside is capped, act now and review tomorrow. Set kill switches in advance, conditions that end the bet with no shame attached. Pre-commitment makes courage cheap. After action, every strike gets a one-page write-up. What we saw, how we moved, what worked, what to change. That write-up is future luck. Keep your personal edge sharp. Maintain a portfolio of small experiments that keep you close to the frontier. New channels, new tools, new partners. Speak at small rooms. Test messages in low-risk spaces. Cultivate weird, high-signal friends who spot shifts early. Luck often arrives as a person. Be the kind of person they text first. When the window opens, own the narrative. Announce clearly, move resources visibly, and set a public checkpoint. We're entering market X now. Team A moves here. Team B pauses Y for 2 weeks. We'll report traction on November 15th. People rally to momentum they can see. And if the window shuts, shut with it. Gracefully, quickly, with receipts. We tested for 10 days, hit 40% of the threshold. We're stopping and folding lessons into Z. Fortune respects closure. Remember Machiavelli's pair, virtu, capacity, skill, will, and fortuna, the weather. You don't command the weather, but you can build sails, train a crew, watch the sky, and be brave when the gust arrives. The unfair advantage isn't luck, it's readiness, meeting nerve. These rules aren't a costume, they're an operating system for reality as it is. Political, fast, unforgiving to wishful thinking. Wear the mask to buy time. Earn respect with standards. Switch fox and lion on cue. Frame the story before it frames you. Crush embers before they rage. Keep your hands clean with process. Make generosity compound. Pour your strength into institutions. Pick sides that shape your future. Treat promises like instruments. Be firm rarely and cleanly. Design a world where factions need the hinge. Be the gate that organizes value. Train in the quiet so you're calm in the storm. Guard your name without hiding behind it. Bet on the hungry and prune the entitled. Build intelligence so truth reaches you first. And when the wind shifts, move. Use all of this within the law and within a code you can live with. Ruthless doesn't mean cruel, it means clear. Pick one rule to implement in the next 24 hours, ship it, and let the compounding begin.